major storm clusters are lining up. Forecasters call this the worst stretch since 2011. Monday's models are showing 3,000 joules per kilogram of storm energy over Oklahoma and Texas. The Storm Prediction Center is issuing outlooks for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday simultaneously. That early confidence is rare. Multi-day forecaster commitments only happen when the atmospheric ingredients are genuinely dangerous and coming together. At the 5-minute mark, I will show you exactly why Monday, April 13th, has forecasters all locked in and worried. Hang around to the end. There is real good news buried inside this wild weather pattern. All right, before this weekend's threat, something important is already happening across the Midwest right now. Rivers across Indiana, Ohio, Iowa, and Wisconsin are running high after 3 to 6 inches of early April rainfall. Fort Wayne, Indiana is at 43 degrees under active rain showers with flooding ongoing along local waterways. Indianapolis is at 42 degrees with active flooding along the Tippecanoe River, and more rain is coming. Cleveland and Toledo are both under flood warnings right now. Rivers, there have no room for more rain. Drop your city in the comments. Are you in the flood zone, storm zone, or watching from the clear? The whole country is split active flooding across the Midwest while the Southeast bakes in a deepening drought. Georgia, Carolinas, Florida, and Alabama are all below normal on precipitation, good Lord. This drought keeps getting worse. Atlanta is at 75 degrees and sunny today, beautiful weather sitting on top of a serious moisture deficit. This whole setup is a classic spring pattern western U.S. trough, eastern U.S. ridge, battleground right in the middle. That trough ridge setup drives the jet stream around like a bowl of cereal, cranking up wind shear across the plains. When wind shear loads alongside 3,000 joules of instability, no-brainer. Folks, that is a tornado outbreak recipe. Let's get after it, walking through this week day by day, starting with Wednesday, April 8th, already active across Kansas. The Storm Prediction Center has a marginal risk up for central Kansas today, mainly isolated large hail and gusty winds. Wichita is at 62 degrees with 16 miles per hour southerly winds. Those storms could fire late afternoon during peak heating. Kansas City is at 55 degrees with storm risk flagged. Watch the radar tonight if you are in eastern Kansas. Tonight, a frontal boundary drops south, bringing rain, sleet, and snow to Minnesota and the upper peninsula of Michigan. Minneapolis is at 40 degrees, heading into a rough overnight. This cold air fuels everything coming this weekend. Heading into Thursday, April 9th, a marginal risk stretches from the Texas Panhandle all the way up to Kansas City. Thursday covers the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma Panhandle, central Kansas, and extends into northwest Missouri. Thursday's main concerns are hail and damaging winds with a low tornado risk possible across Kansas if boundaries set up. Amarillo is at 66 degrees today with 14 miles per hour southerly winds. That Gulf moisture surge is already showing up. Lubbock is at 68 degrees with storm risk flagged. The Texas Panhandle needs to watch Thursday afternoon closely. Heavy rainfall. Thursday could dump up to 2 inches from Wichita through Kansas City, Omaha, and Des Moines. That is going on top of ground that is already completely saturated from the early April flooding events. Omaha is at 48 degrees with flood risk flagged. Farm fields across Iowa and Nebraska are already underwater. Des Moines is at 46 degrees. More rain this week means absolutely zero relief for the Midwest flooding situation. This additional rain could worsen flooding from Kansas City through Omaha, Ames, and the entire Quad Cities region. Turn around, don't drown, burn that phrase deep into your memory if you're near any flooded roadway this week. Friday looks like a transition day. Storm Prediction Center has predictability listed as too low while models still evolve. Predictability too low is not the same as no severe weather. Friday models are still sorting out the details. Dallas is at 72 degrees with storm risk flagged for Friday DFW area. Stay tuned for updated guidance. Here is where the forecast gets truly significant. Saturday, April 11th is when the first major severe weather arrives. The Storm Prediction Center already has a 15% chance area covering West Texas and western Oklahoma for Saturday. A day 5 15% area means very high forecaster confidence that is not a minor signal at all. Saturday's threat zone covers Amarillo, Lubbock, Midland, Childress, and the Wichita Falls area. Strong storms expected late afternoon. Saturday's hazards include large hail, damaging winds, and a tornado threat that we simply cannot ignore. Good grief. If you have outdoor plans in the Texas Panhandle Saturday, you flat out need an indoor backup plan. Now, Sunday, April 12th, the threat does not fade after Saturday. It shifts east and intensifies significantly. Sunday's 15% chance area covers Wichita, Oklahoma City, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Abilene. Oklahoma City is at 70 degrees today with severe storm risk flagged. Warm Gulf moisture is already in place. Tulsa is at 68 degrees today, sitting right in the heart of Sunday's threat zone on high alert. Houston is at 74 degrees today. That deep Gulf moisture feeding this weekend setup is clearly visible right now. Sunday's supercell threat is driven by southwesterly flow cranking up as the jet stream rounds the base of the trough. On Sunday, all hazards are on the table: large hail, damaging winds, and a significant tornado threat. If you live in a mobile home from West Texas through Oklahoma into southern Kansas, lock in your shelter plan now. A mobile home cannot protect you from a violent supercell. Know your nearest sturdy structure and be ready to move. Do not sleep on the nighttime angle. The low-level jet surge keeps Sunday's storms cranking well after dark. Nighttime tornadoes are a completely different category of dangerous. Sirens can go off while your family is asleep. Have weather alerts active on every phone in your household before Sunday. That notification at night could matter most. Now, here is the part that has every serious forecaster paying extremely close attention Monday, April 13th. The Storm Prediction Center shows a 15% area for Monday covering Texas, all of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Kansas, and Missouri. Monday's footprint reaches southern Iowa, western Illinois, and the Joplin-Springfield region, a massive multi-state corridor of severe weather. Here is the number that stops me cold. Monday is showing 3,000 joules per kilogram over Oklahoma and Texas. Even up in northern Wisconsin, models show 1,000 joules per kilogram on Monday. The energy footprint is enormous. Monday's setup looks like a textbook negatively tilted trough, the exact pattern that produces the most dangerous tornado outbreaks. The dry line on Monday sets up near Kansas City with a triple point warm front, cold front, and dry line converging. Here is the kicker. Models are likely underplaying Monday's risk because the extended range cannot capture how explosive this will be. Forecasters at the Storm Prediction Center are using language reserved for their most serious outlooks, and Monday keeps growing on the map. Yesterday, they only had outlooks through day 6. Now, day 7 and day 8 are being added worse since 2011 is in the air. St. Louis is at 52 degrees with flood risk flag sitting on the eastern fringe of Monday's tornado threat zone. Kansas City is at 55 degrees right now, right at that critical triple point zone where Monday's worst storms could erupt. Fort Smith, Arkansas, and Fayetteville are also in Monday's threat zone. The Ozarks region needs to take this seriously. Springfield, Missouri is at 52 degrees today, sitting right in the overlap zone where Sunday and Monday threats both converge. Plano and Grand Prairie, Texas, are at 72 degrees with storm risk flagged. The entire DFW Metroplex needs eyes on Sunday. Lincoln, Nebraska is at 50 degrees with flood risk nearby. The whole I-80 corridor from Omaha to Iowa City is under pressure. Topeka, Kansas is right in the heart of the Thursday marginal risk zone. Stay weather aware through Thursday evening into night. Y'all drop your city in the comments. Which day concerns you most? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or the whole stretch? Wichita is at 62 degrees today, sitting in the overlap zone where Saturday, Sunday, and Monday threats all target your area. Overland Park, Kansas at 56 degrees with storm risk. The entire Kansas City metro needs to be on high alert next week. Oklahoma City at 70 degrees. You are in the bullseye for Sunday and Monday, both. And that back-to-back threat is serious. Tuesday, April the 14th. A second low-pressure system takes over and extends the outbreak by another full day. Energy transfers to a new low tracking. A similar path, meaning impacts continue through the Ozarks and lower Mississippi Valley. By Wednesday, April 15th, the threat shifts toward the Ohio Valley, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Arkansas, and southeast Texas. Nashville is at 65 degrees and calm today, but midweek next week. The Tennessee Valley needs to pay close attention. Memphis is at 68 degrees with humid southerly winds. Warm, moist air feeding next week's system is already building. Louisville is at 55 degrees with flood risk flagged. More rain midweek will compound the already active flooding threat. Cincinnati is at 48 degrees under cloudy skies with flood risk active. The Ohio River Basin is watching every storm carefully. Two separate severe weather clusters won this weekend, one around April 17th through 21st. That is what the models show. The second cluster arrives around April 20th through 21st, another organized severe weather event targeting the plains and Midwest. Here is what makes this stretch genuinely historic. The entire mid to late April window is hyperactive, with no real break. The GFS and European models are in rare agreement, both showing extremely active severe weather through the fourth week of April. Little Rock is at 67 degrees today, right in the path of the midweek system rolling through Arkansas. New Orleans is at 76 degrees today. The deep Gulf moisture feeding these storm systems is clearly on display. Baton Rouge at 75 degrees. The lower Mississippi Valley communities need to watch both flooding and severe weather risk this week. Here is the straight talk on rainfall totals over the next 7 days across the central United States. The heaviest rainfall band runs from the Red River Valley through Texas, Oklahoma, and western Arkansas, well above normal. From Wichita through Kansas City and Chicago, areas could see 1 to 2 inches with localized spots hitting 3 or more. That goes on top of already saturated ground from early April flooding, making flash flooding a serious companion threat all week. The Southeast remains completely in the drought. No meaningful precipitation is showing up for Georgia, the Carolinas, or Florida. The Southeast drought is actually being made worse by the same atmospheric pattern driving all this severe weather across the plains. That eastern U.S. ridge is blocking rain from reaching the Southeast until it breaks down. The drought keeps intensifying. Charlotte is at 68 degrees and sunny today, beautiful spring weather sitting on a serious moisture deficit underneath. The 7-day rainfall total map shows 3 or more inches in the red zones across the Red River Valley. That is significant flooding territory. Snowfall prospects are mostly confined north of the U.S.-Canadian border, with some potential creeping back into Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Temperature-wise, the warm sector ahead of the trough will push 70s and 80s as far north as Wisconsin and Michigan by Sunday. That warm sector is not just pleasant weather, it is the storm fuel. And the colder air behind the trough is the trigger. The roller coaster of temperatures this month means big-time cold fronts rolling through every few days, keeping storm energy constantly reloading. Raleigh is at 64 degrees and clear. The entire southeast is waiting for any meaningful precipitation that never seems to arrive. Here's the good news buried inside this wild setup. Good grief. The Pacific Northwest and West Coast are looking fantastic. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s are building across the Midwest and Great Plains heading into this weekend. That warm sector ahead of Sunday and Monday's storms will push well above normal readings from Texas up to the Great Lakes. Denver is at 58 degrees and sunny. That warm Rockies air is part of what sets up Monday's energy contrast. Phoenix is at 88 degrees and bone-dry western warmth creates the contrast with cold plains air that fuels these storms. Here is what you need to know about your safety plan this week. Do not wing it, folks. This is for real. Know your shelter, lowest floor, interior room, away from windows, and make sure your whole household knows it too. Have your phone charged before bed each night in a multi-day severe weather pattern. Warnings can drop at any hour. If you are in a flood-prone neighborhood, identify your evacuation route before Thursday, not after the water rises. Before. Check on your elderly neighbors this week in a pattern this prolonged. Isolated seniors need someone checking in on them. Today is Safe Place Selfie Day from NOAA. Find your safe place at home and join the awareness campaign right now. Safe Place Selfie is not just a hashtag, it is a reminder to actually locate and practice your shelter plan before storms arrive. Here is the big picture summary of why this stretch is drawing the worst since 2011 comparison from serious meteorologists. In 2011, multiple tornado outbreak days occurred back-to-back during a single season-changing pattern shift across the central U.S. We are not saying this will be identical to 2011, but the atmospheric setup shares enough similarities that the comparison stands. The negatively tilted trough pattern developing for Monday is the same kind of setup that produced those devastating 2011 tornado outbreaks. Two separate active clusters, week after week. With storm energy flat out refusing to dissipate, that is what makes this different. Colorado State University machine learning models are also flagging severe weather from the Ozarks all the way through the Ohio Valley. If you are in Indiana, Illinois, Or Michigan, do not assume you are outside the threat zone for next week. Detroit is at 40 degrees, still recovering from the early April EF1 tornado, and more severe weather targets the Great Lakes next week. Milwaukee is at 38 degrees, with active flooding. The Midwest is absorbing more storms before current flood impacts have even resolved. Chicago is at 36 degrees, with flood risk flagged nearby. The Windy City sits on the northern edge of Monday's corridor. Columbus, Ohio is at 45 degrees with flood warning nearby. The Ohio River Basin needs to stay glued to local flood guidance. Drop your city in the comments one more time. I want every person in the threat zones to know what is coming. Whether you are in Amarillo watching Saturday build or in Kansas City bracing for Monday, your safety is what matters most. Straight Talk Saturday and Sunday are high confidence threats, and the Storm Prediction Center is fully committed to both days. Monday is also high confidence on the broad threat. The exact dry line position will shift where the worst storms fire. The 3rd and 4th weeks of April look very active too, meaning this is not a one-week problem. It is all month. Every storm system ejecting from the western trough this month will bring new severe weather opportunities across the plains and Midwest. Come back every single day this week as Saturday gets closer. The exact threat corridors will be much more defined. What I can tell you right now, this is not social media hype. This is legitimate alarm from trained professional forecasters. The GFS, the European model, and the Storm Prediction Center are all pointing at the same dangerous historic level pattern. Stay alert. Stay prepared. The worst since 2011 label did not come from thin air, and the data backs it up, plain and simple. 3,000 joules over Oklahoma, 2 outbreak clusters, and a pattern that refuses to quit this week demands your full attention. Stay safe out there. Folks, we will be right here tracking every development every single day as this historic pattern unfolds.